Right, hello there. Now, it's been quite a long time since I've made any videos, probably over 2 years I suspect. But with all this coronavirus quarantine at the minute, I thought this would be the ideal time to start doing them again, because everybody's going to want to be watching content in a minute. This is a Polaris diesel 455 that is basically a barn find. It's not been running for about 2 years. As you can see, it's in something of a state. There's a lot of corrosion down there. And over the next few weeks we're going to be completely restoring this, as long as I'm off work now due to the coronavirus. Company shut down, so I've got pretty much nothing else to do. So just a quick first look over. Obviously this hasn't been running for 2 years. Front tyres look okay, not too much dry rot, plenty of tread on them. Very faded plastics. I'm going to show you how to restore those. This tyre looks alright as well. Back tyres, decent tread, not too much dry rot. Automatic. Apparently this has got a blown head gasket, but we're yet to see. Seat needs recovering. I'll show you how to do that in another video. First look at the suspension. Nothing seems to be snapped or welded in the past, except from we have got here a CV joint that's completely out of its socket. And I don't know if you'll see, but if we zoom in there, yeah, you can just about see about, where is it? About there. Somebody has tried to weld the joint in the past because the joint is extremely smoothed out. They do get like that over time, unfortunately. But I've got a brand new one in the back of the truck. Brakes, pads look okay in there. Only completely stripping down due to rust. Have a look up here. Zoom out a bit. Got a 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive switch. That still move. Yeah, that still moves. Hopefully the electronics still work. Again, very faded plastics. I'm showing you how to restore those, as I said. Master cylinder. Okay, we have actually still got some pressure in that, which means it's probably still got some fluid in it. The level check is long gone. Somebody's put some sort of washer in there. I'll have to either replace the cap or, to be honest, look at them screws, I'll probably have to replace the master cylinder. It's not a problem as long as Chinese parts get here okay still. Let's have a look under the seats. Lovely. Okay, so we've got a fair bit more corrosion under here. Battery terminals are very bad. Those batteries will almost certainly not charge. I have got the plastic panel the other side in the back of the truck as well. Let's see if we can get this off one-handedly. I'll just pause the video and we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we've got the panel off now. Looking inside, the gate is still okay for the automatic. This is the transmission brake. Does that move? No, we'll have to go through that. There's your transmission brake there that just stops on that transmission cog. Surface rust on the exhaust with no holes, as far as I can see. That's concerning. That does look like it perhaps has been apart before. Head gasket's down there. Can't see any obvious signs of people messing about with it. Still shifts alright. Yep, shifter works fine. Throttle isn't stuck. Look under this front cover. Just leave that down there for now. Okay, well the wirings don't look too corroded. Let's see if there's any water in it. There is actually water in that. It's more than a finger's depth down, but it is in there. Let's have a look at the expansion tank. These are actually quite rare quads. They're made between 1999 and 2001. They're actually very slow indeed Not much power to them, but they are extremely economical. In Britain they can run on red diesel. So yeah, got plenty of water in there, there's no oil in it. Let's have a look at the oil, see if it's milky. It's actually a dry sump system, this is why you got this external tank. That looks fine. Bit viscous, but not too bad. Stick that back in there. Just pause the video in a sec. Okay, and you have to give the poor filming. It is only me here due to this coronavirus quarantine. So what I've done is I've got a jug of water here. We're going to see how much it takes, and then we're going to hook the jump back up to it, see if it does anything. Cap off that, let's see how much it takes. Not very much. I'm going to leave the cap off for when we start it, see if there's any bubbles from pressurising head gasket. I've actually got a head gasket for it. Head gaskets are actually extremely rare on these now. There's very few left in the country and in the world. They don't make them anymore. Make the rest of the parts. Apologies, I did just get interrupted there. But I've just put the jump pack on. I've got the jump pack connected to the frame earth here. Get that hooked up nice and tight on there. Come on. I did notice it has a sprayer port there, which will be handy. There's a 2-in battery setup on this one. That's your primary battery. That's your secondary battery. The cables run from this battery to the actual system, so I've hooked it up to this. This is there's 2 solenoids on this. There's a primary solenoid, which works from the start button, and there's a secondary solenoid within the starter motor itself. So I'm going to hook that up. Just wanted to check the connection, so let's turn the key and see if there's any life at all. Okay, so we've got no lights at all. Let's move that around a little bit. Still nothing, let's try the lights. Okay, so high beam's working. No low beam at the moment. Oh! Yeah, got low beam only on the one side. Oh no, both sides have come on now. Ideal. Let's just see if it's in neutral. No, not in neutral. Yes, neutral, but no lights. Okay. Let's see if it'll spin. Nothing at all. Okay, what I'm going to try now is hooking power directly to the starter. There's the starter connection down there. I've already pulled back the cover in preparation. We are getting some slight little sparks there, so there must be connection. Leave that on there. Then we'll get a separate wire, which I should have somewhere. Here it is. We'll hook that to there. We'll unplug the little solenoid. Make sure the key's on yet. Just bear me a sec, I'll just hook that properly in there. Right, that should be a good enough connection. Let's see if it does anything. No, it's not. It's a pain in the ass trying to get it like this. Yeah, there we go. Come on. It's trying. Oh, there we go. Started straight up. Bit of diesel smoke, but that's fine. It's fairly bluish, grey, so it's not water. fine. Let's have a look at the water, see if it's pressurising. Okay, so it took some of that water down, but you can just see in there, it's not bubbling as yet. I'm going to try putting a bit more in. It's taking a bit. No real bubbles, to be honest. That's just me putting it in. Let's try revving it a little. There's a couple of bubbles coming up. Okay, a bit more water in. Can't believe it started straight up, really. I can't really decide if that's vibrations or whether it's actual pressurising. We'll just watch it for a minute, see if it drags any more water down while it's just idling. I'm going to give it a quick rev. It might just be air bubbles, see? I'm thinking that's probably air. Okay, well the system seems to be full. Grab the cap. So what I'm going to do is stick the cap back on. I'm going to see if it pressurizes if I'm running for a few minutes. I'm going to just unload the trailer now, unstrap it while it's running, and I'll be back. Okay, so it's out of the trailer. Been running for about 5 minutes now. It's a bit of a pain to move because that shaft's out, but it does, both drive lines actually do spin, so there's nothing wrong with the transmission itself. It is just the CV shaft. It's managed to drive off the trailer, but obviously it's doing a bit of a peel, but it's only one-wheel drive. It takes about 10 metres of four-wheel drive to kick in, even if it does work. So there's no four-wheel drive at the moment. What I'm going to do to try and make it a bit easier is air up these tyres. We've got a full tank of air here. We'll pump these up while we're waiting for the to warm up to see if the acid really is gone. Okay, we'll be back in about a minute. Okay, so it's been running another couple of minutes. All tyres have taken pressure. We've still got no coolant coming out of the cap, so that's a good sign. Having another walk around now, it's off the trailer. I have a bit more of an inspection. The idle's quite high, moves as soon as you put it in gear. That's not really a problem to sort out though. The engine does seem to move quite a lot. Probably see better from the other side. I have had these before, and they do move a lot. This one seems slightly excessive, so I'm not sure if it needs a mount or what. It's obviously missing a couple of springs off the exhaust, which is causing something of a leak. Should have a couple of those lying around somewhere. Looking at the front, just get this out of the way. It does need a couple of U-joints. That one's okay. Let's have a look at the other one. Yeah, that's the one that's gone, look. Don't know how much of that you can see on camera, but that is excessive play in my opinion. You can see it move up and down there. This needs screwing back on properly. CV boot aren't rips on this side, although they are somewhat dry rotted. Let's have a look at the other boots. Yeah, same on this side, not ripped, but a bit dry rotted. Yeah, I think it probably does need an engine mount if you zoom in there. That's where all the vibration's coming from. That mount definitely needs changing. Yeah, you can see it wobbling like hell there. I don't know how well you can hear me, hopefully quite well. Let's have a look, see if there's any pressurisation in the expansion tank. It's only been running a few minutes, so it won't be too bad if it is. No, there's no pressurisation there, cap's loose, and it's not moving anywhere, so that's good. Let's have a look at the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll get this over a bit towards the workshop. I'll be back then. Alright, see you in a bit. Right, so it's been running now for about an hour. I've just switched off to do the video. It's had no bubbling at all in the head gasket, so I think we're on to a bit of a winner. I had to give the chap a bell I added off, and he had about 4 of them there at one point. So he said he might well have been confused with only sulphur sparks, which would be ideal. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to get it all jacked up, see what it needs to get it to drive well, and then we'll take it on a good drive, see if the brakes work, etc. And we'll probably try and take it 10 to 15 miles, see if we can get the head gasket to do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and come back when it's all jacked up. I'm going to have a bit of inspection, see if I can sort that joint out that's a bit buggered. Alright, no worries. Okay, so the front's jacked up now. We've not got too many nasty surprises. The primary bad thing is that this spring is snapped, which you couldn't see before. You can see that it's gone there and gone there. The shock is actually okay. As you can see, there's quite a lot of resistance on there. So hopefully we'll get away with keeping the shock and just replacing the spring. Or it might come as a whole setup, I'm not sure. Wheel bearing on this side is good, no play in it. A-frame bushings are good. Well, there's a little bit of play, but I would class it as slight play. That would be MOT passable in the UK. Other side, spring and shock is good. Plenty of resistance on that. Wheel bearing, very, very slight play. Again, that would be a minor advisory in the UK. A-frame bushing on this side, quite bad. You can see that. That's going to have to be replaced. If we get in here, that UJ is good. There's no play at all in that UJ. If you follow that shaft back, you're not going to be able to see that, I don't think. The other UJ's down there. See if I can have a bit of a... Yeah, there's no play in that UJ either, that's good. Got plenty of undergrowth growing. Let's see if we can spot the VIN. Let's have a look at the discs as we are over here. Oh, okay, so that side of that A-frame bushing is actually gone. You can see there. So we'll have to replace that. Disc. Very minimal wear on them discs. They're quite good. Ball joint. No play in the ball joints. Okay, yeah, it looks like we'll have to replace just the spring, because you can see the shock is clamped in here. Sorry if the camera's terrible, there's only me. So yeah, we should just be able to replace the spring, I should say. Frame isn't rotten, frame's in good condition. Let's see if the brakes do anything. So there's plenty of fluid pressure in them. So So yes, they do work, but they're poor. Calipers probably need taking apart and cleaning, if not rebuilding. See about that VIN. So the VIN number should be on this side of the frame. And yes, it is there. You probably cannot see it. But yeah, it is there, it's just heavily corroded. Good cleaning here is definitely required. There's not actually too much rust, to be honest. I've seen a hell of a lot worse. Track rod ends. No play in them track rods, that's good. Look around here. Pipes aren't too dry rotted. Some kind of insulation's been put on this one, which is now starting to come off. I think that's just a protective coating though. It's fine. No cracks in my cover. That boot could probably do with replacing, but it's not urgent because it only goes to this CVT vent. So I'll jack up the back and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so the back's now jacked up. I've removed the wheel of the offending axle. A bit of a look on this one. Okay, so I think actually there's no play in anything here. Maybe very slight in the shock. No, that I would not do anything on this side or this corner. That looks perfectly fine and acceptable. Let's have a look at this side. There's not a lot there. The only thing that probably could do replacing is that shock bushing. You can see that moving up and down. Not sure if you can or not, but that definitely wants replacing. Let's have a look in here. This disc, slightly scored, but okay. You can see in here the welds that they're putting to hold this in. They're actually quite far back. There's the little recess for the circlip of the axle, which is well in front of them welds, so it should be fine to put a new axle in. Which I will do first because it needs to go on a big run, see if the head gasket's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip all this hub off, and I'll be back when I'm trying to put the new axle in. You notice how beefy all this is, look. The size of the shaft compared to a petrol bike. The size of this bearing. Substantial machine, this. Okay, so it's the next day now. I did take it apart yesterday, but I ran into a bit of bother. The axle was, as I suspected, completely destroyed, but the new axle I've been supplied with, the spline for the wheel bearing was actually too thin. So if we go and look at the new axle, here it is. Put stuff on the end. So this bit here needs to be a 40mm on a diesel, but the one I've been supplied with, I've been accidentally clearly supplied with one for a petrol model. Because if I grab that there, as you can see, it's only 32mm. This end is the same. You can see the condition of these splines compared to the old axle, much more defined. So because of this coronavirus lockdown, I don't know how long it's going to take to get parts. What I did try and do is take the clip out of this axle and put it in the old axle. And it did actually work for about half a mile until it came out again. So unfortunately I've had to order another replacement axle. It did work for long enough for me to drive at a small distance, and the results weren't too great, to be honest. The only good thing is the neutral and high indicators did start working. I've got the battery hooked up to it at the moment, but you can see I've still got no lights. I suspect inside the transmission where it earths on each gear. So if you imagine let's have a look. There are the little connectors which go up to the lights. When I change the gear, a little contact meets the plug inside, so I suspect there's a fair bit of rust on that contact. So hopefully with a bit of use they will start working again, because they were working as I was driving it, but more problems have been identified. Primarily that when I do drive it, it's like there's a lot of clutch slipping. It barely moves really in high range. It can move in low range and reverse, but high range is a real struggle. That could either be because that diff was slipping and only providing wheel to that one wheel. I did notice that wheel was spinning whereas the other one wasn't. Wheel slipping, that is. But to be honest, given the condition of the rest of the machine, I suspect that the belt is severely worn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this video as part 1. I'll get this uploaded today. Due to the condition of our internet, it will take probably all day to upload. And then I'm going to start on a part 2, which will be cleaning it up or having a look at the condition of that belt. We'll see which one it is. And then as soon as that part comes in, which is probably going to be a number of days, we'll start investigating that and putting that back together. Head gasket didn't seem to go again yesterday, so I do need to take just a longer trip. But okay, I'll see you in the next one.